Have you ever met someone who seemed to have nothing left in life, yet smiled as if they had everything? And you wonder, how can a heart once broken still shine with such peace? Sometimes it's the quietest souls who carry within them stories powerful enough to silence the world. Amid endless green fields stretching toward the horizon, where dusty paths shimmer under the sun, there stood a humble little village. And in that village lived a woman everyone knew, Grandma Evelyn. She was nearly 80. Her silver hair was tied neatly in a bun, her wrinkled skin soft like folded parchment, and her eyes still clear as morning dew. On that face was always a gentle smile, a smile untouched by time or sorrow. Her home was as simple as her spirit, a small mud brick house nestled beneath an old maple tree. Inside, only the bare essentials: 2 clay pots filled with water, a tiny stove glowing red each morning, and a wooden cot that creaked softly with every passing breeze. She had lived alone for over 30 years. Her kind husband had long passed away, and her only son had left for the city in search of work, never to return. The villagers would whisper as they passed her small house, "Grandma Evelyn, living all alone, forgotten by the world, and yet she smiles as if nothing weighs on her heart." Then one summer, Lila, a 20-year-old girl from Los Angeles, California, came to the village to visit her grandfather. Her heart was shattered. She had failed her medical entrance exam, been betrayed by her best friend, and every day her parents compared her to someone better, someone else's perfect child. Each evening she sat by the rice fields, staring into the falling sun, whispering to herself, "Why is life so cruel? I tried, but it's never enough." One morning as she walked past the old maple tree, she saw Grandma Evelyn scattering leftover rice for the sparrows, humming an old tune softly. Her voice trembled, yet carried warmth. Her eyes sparkled with a strange, calm light, the light of peace. She smiled at everyone who passed, even those who didn't smile back. Lila couldn't look away. Day after day she found herself stopping to watch, until one quiet afternoon, as the sun dipped behind the leaves, she finally gathered her courage, stepped closer, and asked softly, "Grandma, may I sit with you for a while?" Grandma Evelyn's face lit up, her smile chasing away the afternoon sun. "Of course, my dear." The shade of the maple tree is the coolest spot right now. They sat in silence for a long moment, the only sounds the rustle of leaves and the chirp of birds hopping between branches. Then Lila spoke, her voice a soft whisper, as if afraid the wind might carry it away. "Grandma, you're all alone now. You've lost so much, yet you still smile like that. How do you do it?" Grandma Evelyn chuckled softly, a knowing smile that held both pain and deep understanding. Ah, my child, I wasn't born with this smile, you know. It came after many storms. Would you like to hear my story? Lila nodded, her eyes wide with curiosity. When I was your age, she began, her voice a warm cadence, like recalling a cherished old dream. I married a gentle man. We had nothing but our love, and our son was our greatest joy. But fate has its own ways. One winter, my husband fell gravely ill. There were no hospitals nearby, and I had no money for a doctor. He passed away in my arms, only managing to whisper, "Be strong, Grandma Evelyn." She paused, her eyes distant, her voice a near whisper. I wanted to die with him, but I lived. I lived for my son. She bowed her head slightly, as if remembering those harsh, bygone years. I cleaned houses for people, washed clothes. Sometimes I even had to beg, all just to earn enough to feed my son, to send him to school. Then he grew up, got a job in the city, left the village, and I waited for letters, waited for calls, but there was nothing. Then he married, started his own family. Perhaps he had forgotten me. The wind stirred the maple leaves gently. Lila was silent, a complicated emotion welling up inside her, a mix of sorrow and profound admiration. Lila looked up, her voice catching in her throat. "Grandma, didn't you ever go to him?" Grandma Evelyn nodded slowly, her misty eyes fixed on the distance where the last rays of sunlight shattered behind the maple canopy. "Yes, my child," she said, her voice low, yet light as the breeze. "I did. But when I stood outside his apartment, I saw him laughing, with his wife, with his child, with a brand new life. I stood across the street, watching for a long time, and then I turned away." She pressed her lips together gently, then her smile blossomed slowly, like a dried flower determined to still release its fragrance in the desert. "Sometimes, you know," Grandma Evelyn said softly, "real love isn't about holding on. It's about letting go, with grace." Lila lowered her head, tears shimmering at the corners of her eyes. "But don't you ever feel angry, lonely, or betrayed?" Grandma Evelyn smiled again, a gentle, sunrise kind of smile, warm and still. "Oh yes, my dear," she said, her tone calm but honest. "I've felt anger. I've cried until my chest ached. I've known what it's like when your heart turns to stone." She paused, her frail hands trembling slightly as they rested on her knees. "But then," she continued softly, "I learned 3 simple truths. Just 3, but they saved me from my own darkness." She raised 3 fingers, her voice steady, her words deliberate, as though each one carved itself into the air between them. "First, accept what you cannot change.
Her voice deepened with quiet strength. I can't force my son Kabir to remember me, but I can choose not to let bitterness devour me. I chose peace over pain, because sometimes, when you can't change your circumstances, you can still change the way you see them. A gentle breeze passed through, and the maple leaves rustled in quiet agreement. Second, be grateful for what you have. She lifted her eyes toward the fading light of the evening sky. I may have no wealth, no family left beside me, but I have these birds. I have this tree. I have the sky above and a heart that still knows how to feel. Gratitude isn't for the rich. It's for those who are awake. Her voice trembled slightly, yet it carried an undeniable strength. Third, give more than you take. Her eyes sparkled, untouched by age, glowing with purpose. I feed the birds every morning. I help the village children with their homework. I gather herbs for the sick. And each time I give, I feel alive, as if my heart still matters in this world. Lila sat frozen, her breath caught in her chest. In that quiet moment, she could almost feel the weight inside her beginning to lift. The knots of pain, one by one, slowly started to loosen. The sun slipped completely behind the trees. Sparrows fluttered home, filling the air with gentle chirps. The sky turned golden, wrapping both women in a calm, tender glow, like a warm blanket over two lonely souls who had finally found connection. And for the first time in weeks, Lila smiled. "Grandma, thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling as she reached for Evelyn's wrinkled hand. "Tonight, you've healed something inside me." That night, beneath a sky filled with countless stars, two souls, one old, one young, sat side by side. They shared stories, laughter, and even tears that had long been held back. When Lila returned to Los Angeles, the city was still the same. The streets were loud, the pressure relentless, the challenges unchanged. But something within her had shifted. There was a new light in her eyes. From that day forward, she began every morning with a quiet prayer of gratitude. She stopped chasing the people who had walked away, and instead started helping those who silently suffered, just as she once had. She finally understood. True happiness isn't the absence of pain, but the discovery of purpose within it. Life will never be free from sadness, loss, or disappointment. But we always hold the power to choose how we respond. Grandma Evelyn's story reminds us that peace doesn't come from a perfect life. It grows slowly, from acceptance, gratitude, and kindness, even when our hearts still carry scars. We often wait for life to get better before we allow ourselves to smile. But sometimes, life gets better because we choose to smile first. In the quiet moments, in the small acts of giving, and in the strength to let go without hatred, we find a joy that nothing in this world can steal. So choose that joy. Not because life is easy, but because your heart deserves peace. If the story of Evelyn and Lila touched your heart, take a moment to share that light with someone else. Click like if you believe that peace comes from within. Share this video with someone who needs a gentle reminder of hope. Because sometimes, one small story can heal a great soul. And don't forget to subscribe for more healing, heartfelt stories like this one. Remember, life doesn't have to be perfect for us to smile. We just have to choose peace.